yes, Anastasia, sorry, now we are shifting to English. So we were talking about performance, body in the space as a political act, having few examples of the artists from Guatemala, Galindo, a Croatian artist, Tom Gotovac and Nina Kamenjan, who were standing on a roof, naked, having a statement, and then this Galindo from Guatemala also having a statement against the system, who was persecuting indigenous people and people who were kind of resisting the system. And then I jumped to this question of the difference between physical and digital space, stating that performance is not relevant anymore in the physical space because the system is not concerned about the body so much anymore, although there is a clash with the body still, but the system is entering the mind. So they are working on mastering the mind, because if you master the mind, then you can also master the body. So we are getting sucked in this surveillance capitalism, and Marina Brajnović responded in 2020, I think, in the time of lockdown, because she said, I don't want to make performances because there is no public anymore. So she reacted with this virtual reality performance where she enters this digital metaverse, let's say, a space where she can live even when after she dies. So she's actually talking about eternal life, how to remain alive as an artist even beyond that. So that's my point, that the performance is not relevant anymore in the way it was until now, because now we are encountering a bigger problem, the system who is attacking the mind. So the question is how to respond as an artist to an attack on the mind, how to make a performance using your brain and not your body, or using this digital space. So how to translate all what we do in another media. So this is a quite big area, big question, but we will continue with it if there will be interest. And now I will leave, or let Inge maybe say.
Tomislav, I have just a question before you leave. This performance from Marina Brajnović, it was like mixed reality, but what was like content of performance?
So she's only present. So she continues her idea that the artist is present. So
okay.
I didn't read it, but that's how I read it. But I don't know if you see this video. Maybe the last.
Yes.
You die, the work will never die, because the work of art can continue. In performance, the piece is only in the memory of the audience and nowhere else. Here, I am kept forever.
So maybe it's too short to understand, but she's speaking about the work of art who in performance lasts only when it's done. So performance, there is no material. Okay, there is a video documentation performance, but you can't say this is a performance. The performance happens in the space. So when it's over, and then it continues to live in the public's memory. And now she found a way to be present as a performer forever, and that's why she called it the life. So she's playing with this idea of eternal life and the metaverse. So that's the core idea actually of Meta, Leon Zuckerberg and Facebook shifting to this bigger space where I don't know what's happening now in that area, but I'm sure they are working on it.
Okay, thank you, Tomislav. So I will just make one little my own reaction to Dijana's and your presentation, or this couple of ideas on performance, and would say I put all the names so that everybody can find by these names more about their work. From my own experience, you mentioned also Ulay, who worked with Marina Brajnović from the beginning of 80s. Although Marina Abramović I experienced already in 70s in the film festival where they were showing her body art performance. And she was really some of the first body art performers in not only then Yugoslavia, but also in the world. And that's how she continued with the variety of very adventurous performances where her body was really trained to be in extreme situations where normal people wouldn't be able even to imagine herself or himself. And it's interesting that you were finishing her showing his last work where she's putting herself in metaverse, because actually when you follow her whole life and all performances, it's very much reflecting the time where she was living in. And going back to Tom Godovac, where Dijana spoke about again, he is one of also the first personalities who was dealing with the most interesting ideas also from the early 70s. And it would be very good if participants who are here just put their names and look a little bit further in Wikipedia and what is offering in information. You will find quite interesting. You could follow their their performances. So it's interesting that Tomislav put one of the women who was one of the first, and Dijana, Serbian actually performer, and Dijana Croatian, but actually internationally very important. On the end became, of course, Marina more than maybe Tom, but Tom Gotovac is the cult figure in all, and there is even a museum in Zagreb after his death made of his collection, because he was a great collector of very different things, and his whole apartment was full of these collections. So two of them are really important to know about. So I would suggest all the participants really to make your own research for your knowledge. So in that sense, I would now go to Dorothea, who is putting a finger, but maybe Dorothea, who was following us for longer and have a possibility to react also visually. I would ask, Marco is also coming, very nice, sorry. So I would ask Dorothea, do you have any, not only questions, but some your own thoughts about what Tomislav and Dijana was already talking about?
Sure. I wanted to mention that I really like Marina Abramović. I mean, I don't know a lot about her, but I knew from before some of her work, for example, Rhythm Zero. And I really like that not only from the artistic point of view, but also psychological. So yeah, that was really interesting to me. And from the work that you sent to us, like that what I mentioned, suprematism, I don't know, it's really fascinating that still nowadays it's not done and that they do not allow it. And it was really shocking to me to see that. So yeah.
I don't know whether Anastasia, who came later, have some problems of understanding what we were talking about. So please let us know if you have some questions so that we can maybe repeat. And Marco is just came to us, so maybe he even don't know what it's about. So do you have, Anastasia, some questions?
No, I saw the video and I really liked it. I really liked it, and I read about the other guy that was representing kind of. If you can explain that a bit, like was the girl copying the guy, or What was
Okay, the guy was his name is Tom Gotovac, and he was actually the first. He made this performance in 1994 when was war in Croatia, and he took his inspiration from the American film, which was filmed during the Second World War in America, to introduce to wider public in America the fear of rising of Nazism in America. So Tom Gotovac watched that film. Then he had the inspiration to make this performance in 1994 on the same place when in 2020 Nina Kamenjanin react and do homage performance to this Tom Gotovac performance.
Maybe I can add something again from my own experiences from past, because I knew, of course, Tom Gotovac very well, and I know the whole circle around Tom. He was, it's very important to know the context in which he was working. First of all, he was one of the fans of American Western movies. You wouldn't be surprised. You would be surprised. But also altogether American movie from the classical period of, let's say, 30s, 40s, 50s, especially 50s maybe, with John Ford and Howard Hawks and so on. So there was the whole group of then younger film theoreticians who was writing about film language, mentioning and admiring all these American classical Western directors, and Tom was one of them. The other thing what I know about Tom is that he was since the really 70s, middle 70s, as I start meeting these people by occasions in the Multimedia Center, where there was programs of experimental films as well, because he was one also somebody who was doing very much on experimental film in the beginning and was in this crisis. So he was somebody who was always warning about special secret services from America and putting all kinds of ideas that it sounds like impossible, but that was his research in what is really happening deep down in politics, especially America, concerning the whole world. So this is Tom. Tom had many faces. So his performances is somehow, when you see it first time, it's not enough to understand if you don't to know more about his personalities and his whole history. The same as what I said for Marina Abramović. I mean, it's very important to go from, as with most of artists who have reached the age that they had so long life with a lot of activities. It's also important to know her, but also Tomislav mentioned as well Ulaj, and Ulaj and Marina worked in the beginning together, but later on he continued his own separate performances, and he is really one of the greatest German artists in the sense of performing art and conceptual art. It's very important to say all of them somehow deal also with a certain kind of conceptual art. If Tomislav would agree with that, I'm not sure, but that's my my perception of them. So in that sense, I think we have these certain personalities, the most extreme in a sense what they do. And it's interesting then that you mentioned this younger performer who was trying to redo something what she saw from Tom with a certain context which changed actually, because her context changed, although she, I think, repeated the same, but the context was different time and of course different person and different situation. So maybe you can add a little bit on that, Tom or Tomislav or Dijana. Or maybe you have somebody else have more questions before. Okay. Please, Tomislav, we see that.
Tomislav, please unmute yourself.
Sorry, yes. So, sorry. I just wanted to show another performance from Tom Gotovac, you know, that's quite popular and everybody knows for it from the 80s. But the question I wanted to open is, you know, why in all these performances we see a naked body, you know? And then with Ulay, with Tom, with Nina, Galindo, Nachi, Marina, so all these artists actually use this naked body, you know, to make a statement. And then one interesting thing happened lately, let's say 5-6 years ago, when Ulay was in Rijeka, when he said to a student who wanted to undress himself to make a performance, he said, I wouldn't do it. So Ulay in 2000, let's say 15 or 17, says, I don't want, it's not needed to be naked anymore. So those things are quite interesting. I don't have an answer. At least I have, but it's my personal understanding of it. But this naked body is, of course, a shock, a way to provoke the system, the kind of usual morality. Nothing actually special. So you're undressed. You didn't do anything, let's say, aggressive, but you're kind of disturbing a certain morality, certain way of behaving, certain prejudices and all this. So that's why this naked body has a quite strong presence in performance, and many people think that if you want to make a performance, you have to be naked. So that's another topic, but yes, this
I would like to add something to the naked.
Yes, please.
It is a little story, but I think it's very important. He actually, this what you were showing here, going through Zagreb naked. It was in frame of Zagreb Biennale, music Biennale. And I know the television producer who was making documentation of Music Biennale, because in that year, Music Biennale was first time going out of concert halls, and it was all around the city, in many places outside a space. And Tom was somebody who just in that time decided to be naked, and television was making you know, the camera people and producer, they didn't know what they would expect, and they were really making shooting and that was a huge scandal in that time, and I don't remember how much censorship was in the television, but I don't think they ever saw it. They show it in the television. So actually what is stayed is mostly photographs. So which means, I think, I don't know, Tomislav, you can say which year was that exact? I forgot. It
81.
Was 81. Okay, in 81. So in that time, although the whole hippie era of end of 60s, when everybody was going naked all over the world, in Yugoslavia, in communism, it was something not allowed. So which means by his act, it was specially special act. If he would do it in San Francisco, nobody would look at in that time to him. But you must put in the context of communistic regime that then it was something, especially in such a avant-garde music festival, music biennale, that was very, very revolutionary what he did. So that's my addiction.
I will just, sorry, I have just remarked to Anastasia that Zagreb volante in English means Zagreb, I love you. So that is like homage to our capital.
Well, I'm very happy that Dijana and Tomislav put all these three most famous names, or a couple of names, even more. So it's somehow educational somehow, and I hope you will really take the names. I was putting even more on chat, so please take it and because we will close this part of talk maybe next time already would be extended on art in open spaces or something like that, Dijana, right? And then after that we go to other younger performer or younger activists. So we will present in 2-3 weeks following. And then after that, as I said, editing, scripting, filming, and so on, so that we get also in the certain part of beginning of the media, and then we will end on the most latest digital media. So there's somehow historical way of difference what in art was in that sense. And talking about emergency exit, what Tomislav always tried to recall that we shouldn't forget this emergency exit or looking for exit. What we especially found necessary after or during the COVID era of pandemic, which was the worldwide pandemic, I would say that certain emergency exit existed, of course, in all periods of history, but in this COVID era, it was really worldwide and expand to digital media. So without digital media, we wouldn't be able to experience the whole range of what is happening. It would be a lot of that for us secrets, not knowing how the other countries reacted to that. So talking to Tomislav and Brajnović and all, they were always somehow breaking the walls and putting steps as emergency exit. Sorry, please.
Anastasia ima pitanje. Anastasia has a question, I think.
Yes.
Anastasia.
Yes. Yeah. Before moving on to the next subject, like, what was the main statement Tom wanted to make? Like the main statement, it was like on the basic stuff, like the people thinking about this kind of act as bad, and he wanted to change that, or it was more anti-communist or something?
I would say provocation. Provocation, and also this is actually all what he did was political statement. So political statement in the sense that through his body, he was provoking a system which didn't allow certain activities. So naked body was like somebody is complete naked and there is nothing left to see. And so his provocation is starting from the naked body to things that was not allowed to do in a sense. But I would say, like in any art pieces, of whether it's performance or any other, interpretations are different. For you, for your generation, for you who came from certain different political system and maybe not having this historical overview, you should make your own interpretation, I would say. Whenever you see a piece of art, you don't have to agree, you don't have to like it. This is very important. Nothing who became well-known and with whatever it is, so it's not necessary that you like it, but try always to find backgrounds, and after that, make your own interpretation. Maybe you find something for yourself, what it could mean for you, you know? So it's very difficult to give an answer if you don't know the whole context, in which period, in which political system, in which country was certain activities done. Like Brajnović is doing now whole world during the performances in all world. He's not anymore specific Serbian artist. He became international artist, but still her background is good to know, to understand the process, how she came to that, for example. And the same is with Tom Gotovac, who died like 10 years ago, and with his 80, which means he's kind of already went through very different political system, and he was political artist.
A very important, I think, thing deriving from performative experience and talking with Ule, talking with people who are doing it. So how a performance happens? You have a very clear idea about the thing you're going to do. You don't rehearse, you prepare yourself, but then you do it. So it's not theater, it's not making 10 rehearsals and how I'm going to sing, how I'm going to dance, how I'm going to walk. So it's a concentration, it's a very precise idea, then you do it. That's something they'll say to Marko, to you, it's also maybe important while approaching a digital media, okay, am I digital because I like digital, or is digital appropriate media to my idea? So what's your idea, in that sense, that's something that's very important for performance, because all these people who were doing it had a very clear idea where, what, and how. So it was not the kind of, it happened. No, it didn't happen. It happened, but they did it, they did it. So it's, although it seems simple and easy, performance is one of the most difficult media that exists, because everything becomes a message, even a move a small finger. So that's something that I learned from Boris Bakal and Katarina Pejović. They say, they stand in front of us and then they move the small finger. They said, this is performance. So moving a small finger is a performance. It's a performative act because there is a gesture. You said something. So that's why it's difficult, because it easily becomes pathetic. And then when we're talking about pathetics, then we come to video and pathetic while making some video or acting or whatever. But that's something that Inga is going to explain better next time. So it's quite important to understand that art has to have a clear idea before becoming. So that's maybe the message deriving from these performances we were looking today. Sorry for my small expose, but
okay.
I thought
I'm preparing already all the links.
Yes, if I can add something. So it was a kind of breakthrough in the sense of freedom, searching for a freedom in the society. But last time we also mentioned two types of art. Let's say how Boris Groys explained it. That's the book I sent to you. We sent to you this Art Power. So you can, I don't know which chapter, but you can find in it this division between two let's say big groups of artworks. The one he calls commodity, so art that kind of it's not responsible, let's say, to context, but it's more dealing with the inner formal problems, and orientated towards a kind of world of art and selling actually art as a commodity. And then he said there is this political pamphlet or kind of engaged art that is more a kind of political statement. And the funny thing, or the very interesting thing, is that all these performance, let's say, works, naked body is almost always engaged. So there is a reason why it's done. And then speaking about Marina and Ulay, they also were kind of pushing the body to the limits, kind of endurance. So these works where she's, I don't know, she puts her body in the front of the public and everybody can do something to her, or I don't know, they go for hours somewhere, or they were turning this car for hours in a circle. So many performances where they are pushing, even putting this body in danger, where this performance where Ula is holding an arrow and she's holding the arch, and they are kind of putting this arch in a kind of very lethal situation where somebody could get actually killed. So this is the performance we know from history of art. So I personally believe that it came to an end, that today you can't push it further anymore. we saw blood, we saw cutting of veins, we saw even suicide as performative act. So so that's why Inga mentioned before a conceptual area, because the conceptual art came to an end when you come to a kind of empty paper or empty wall, empty space. You want to show actually content. So that's my main, let's say, idea and concern, that now we came to a phase where the content is naked. The content is naked. So the question is how to present a naked content, let's say, in this digital world. So that's something we were talking about with Nina. She's not present here today, but last time one student very brilliantly kind of pinpoint this problem, where what's going on with art, where it's headed, what's the future of art actually, if everything shifts to an immaterial space. So those are questions we can all the time, we can come back to them, but we're gonna explore more media stuff to understand how we can express ourselves. But the question remains how to act as an artist today in the 21st century, where we are kind of confronted with a powerful algorithm and powerful artificial intelligence. So what happens with our artistic form and expression? So this is my kind of thought about this body in relation to the contemporary context. So that's something, you know, you can further explore this performative body in the space. There are many other artists in the world who use the body and still doing it, you know, in all the countries. So if somebody wants to go further with performance, he can. It's not that we are kind of encouraging any other media, but that's just one reflection concerning material and immaterial space. Inge, thank you. Please continue.
I'm waiting if somebody reacts.
It depends. It
Thank you
depends.
so much.
Yes,
Yes,
please.
you're welcome. So it depends on your affinities. You know, if somebody really is interested in performance, he can dig in. He can make an essay, maybe a document, and then put some links, and then he can help us also to understand better, you know, this area. But because we have 10 more courses, so we can't actually stay much longer on a certain topic.
So thanks for your coming and your interest, and see you next time.
Thank you.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye-bye.
Okay.
Bye.
Bye.